From the shadows, she appears. Jennylyn show, illuminates and tells me all yearn to know. With beats that pulse and sense that ignite, taking us to new heights.
Thank you, and welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn. Today I'm back with the story that I've started telling you. And if you haven't seen the previous segments, I have done an introductory segment, the first of the series, and today is the second. This is not an easy or fun show, but it's an experience that I have lived and I'm living, that I have been told on many occasions that I needed to share with the world. And so I'd like to begin today's segment by saying or reminding you that the difference between a skeptic and a believer is the experience. So clearly, I am no longer a skeptic. And I would like to encourage you to satisfy your soul and not society. In my case, I have no choice. I am living this. I have lived this for the longest time. I was feeling sorry for me because no one I knew could relate to what was going on in my life. When I looked on the internet, there were several people, but I didn't know them. And so I didn't feel safe reaching out. And because I'd had so much betrayal while on this path, it was really difficult for me to know who to trust. And I was starting to resign myself to the possibility, because it's not a fact, that this may be my journey in this incarnation. But I am not. And I've already defeated the enemy. But just like every bully, they never go down easy. When they realize they've lost, they hang on more and they start bringing out all their tools, which in my case, they're old. I've already dealt with them. So today I'm going to start. I'm talking about 19 years, going on 20, of constant barrage of things happening to me that we wouldn't call ordinary or natural or normal. If they were, I'd have so many people around me who could relate to what I'm sharing. But today I'm going to share in the very beginning, within the first 6 months of this happening, I had a dream, and I want to share that dream with you. I was in a hotel type living accommodation on my way to one of the doctors I worked with to pick up some files for work. It was a lonely sort of long hallway, and as I was walking down the hallway, I heard someone running after me, and I turned around, and it's the same woman, CasSandra. She came running at me, and she's quite petite. I'm petite, and she was smaller than I am. And she came running at me with this long, what I equated to a kebab stick. However, this was a much longer stick. And as she approached me, she kept on trying to stab me in my heart. And she kept repeating, "I want you dead. I want you dead. I want you dead." She said it 3 times. And in my dream, not to mention my shock and astonishment, I grabbed it from her and I said, "You are not well. You need help." And just coincidentally broke it into 3 pieces. And then I jumped out of my sleep because it was so real. It woke me up. That was my first warning from God. But little did I know it was a warning. I was just thinking it was a weird dream or a nightmare, which is what I call this segment, and which is why I have called this segment my nightmare. So that was the first thing that happened after she had come to my front door, I think maybe twice, and realized that whatever agenda she had, well, actually, she was coming to my house to bring whatever she was leaving there that wasn't visible. That was affecting me later on because she never really brought anything. And each time she came and left, I was thinking to myself, I don't understand what she came here for, but I didn't until now. And so the other thing that happened is after that dream, it was probably 2 months after, and I told all my friends about the dream, and I said it was so real. They told me I should protect myself, that it's probably a warning, which it was, because it was approximately maybe 2 months after that dream that she brought me the flowers, which I took thinking, oh, she's really nice, but something is just wrong with her. There's some loose screws in her head. But I took them because I wanted to show her, that I appreciated it because I really thought it was a kind gesture. Anyway, after the flowers, I had some friends over one Saturday night. Actually, we were going to dinner. And when they arrived at my house, I was not completely ready. So I asked them to sit downstairs while I ran up to get my handbag and my shoes. And when I came down, my TV was on, and it wasn't on before because I don't really watch TV. And I thought, I love it when my friends come to my house and they feel so comfortable, they could just make themselves at home. I was really happy. But it was really weird because looking back, it was almost like the conversation was orchestrated by something else. One of the two people at my house, his name was Jerry, and I'm sure he won't mind if I say his name. Jerry said to me, or no, actually, he was there with a girlfriend named Norma. Norma is the one who asked, why did you put the TV on? We're going to dinner. I hope we're not hanging around here because I'm starving. And I said, then Jerry put it on. And Jerry looked at me and says, I don't even know how to turn your TV on. And it was then that I became aware that all three of us became aware that the remote control for the television was nowhere in sight. In fact, I had to look for it to turn it off. So this was shortly after I was given the flowers. The television turned itself on when I had my company over. And I have a beautiful chandelier with many hanging crystals. Simultaneously, the crystals started going crazy. They just started flying like someone had hit them. And the lights on the chandelier kept blinking. It was quite a display, except not a display that any of us were amused with because it was unexplainable. And then they looked at me and they go, Jenny, what's going on in your house? How do you live here by yourself? Because I had shared with them, they were two of my closest friends, some of what was going on in the house that I couldn't explain, that was a little bit unnerving. So we left. I found a clicker or the remote and turned the TV off, and we left for dinner. While we were at dinner, they said they were concerned for me being there alone. And they thought that I should start looking for a different place to live. So this was back in 2006, maybe shortly after I just moved into this place that I loved and had gotten to know my neighbors and was centrally located in the Silicon Valley, California. It was prime location because I was in the middle of all the tech companies in the tech world, and I loved it. Plus, I made it home and it was very comfortable. So the thought of leaving there was not appealing to me. Needless to say, I'm naturally a daredevil. And I thought whatever it was not going to win with me. Well, some of what followed did make me question if I wanted to stay there. And you will find out as I share the segments. Like I said, I don't want to be all over the place. I'm just trying to keep these stories so that I make sure I don't tell you the same thing twice. I prepare a list every week of things as they happen best I can, and I would like to stick to that. So the next thing is a friend, or I think it was my mother. My mother lives in New York, and one day I was speaking to her, and she told me about this woman that she had spoken to from her church. And this woman is helping people in her church. And my mother spoke so highly of the woman that I asked my mom for her number. And so my mother gave me her number, and I reached out to her and told her, shared with her what was happening in my home. And she told me she knew someone who could help. So she gave me that person's number, and I called her up. And within 5 minutes of calling this woman, she was describing everything to me in my home, including the bedding on my bed. She described it in detail. She even told me there were two cars on the driveway. One was a Porsche, the other one was a Mercedes. And when someone gives you that kind of detail and they're in New York, then I think it's natural human reaction to trust. Wow, this person is really, knows what they're talking about and will help me. And so the first thing we did is a 3-month course of Bible study, which we did 3 times a day. She told me in preparation for her to help me. But you will find out later what this was. This woman was working with CasSandra, and it was all a setup. At the end of 3 months, she told me in order for her to clear everything that was left in my house, I had to fly her to San Francisco. I bought a ticket. I sent it to her. The day of her, I prepared for her. She had me buy a lot of different things that she was going to need. I have to tell you, the entire thing made me very, very uncomfortable because some of the things she was asking me to buy, you can read about them in the book, I didn't even know existed on the planet. And where she was telling me I had to go for them, I'd never even heard of or didn't even know if one existed in California. Anyway, I was desperate and I wanted the craziness in my house to go away. So if she had told me to go to Timbuktu to find it, I would have found Timbuktu and gone for it because no one else I knew, including the priest, could help me. The day that she arrived in San Francisco, hindsight is always 2020. I have gone to San Francisco airport 100 times or more at this particular time to pick people up. And she was flying in on an airline that I had frequented. But for some crazy reason, I could not find the terminal. I went around the airport 3 times and missed the place where I was picking her up. Now, you make what you want of that, but she had to wait on me 45 minutes. Now, when I picked her up and she got in my car immediately, I felt uncomfortable. Something didn't feel right. I took her to my home. She was there for 14 days, during which time I went to work and left her at my house. I had no clue who I had brought to my house and why she had gone there. It is after when I found the people in the various parts of the world who were trying to help me with this that I realized she was working for CasSandra. Cassandra must have spent a fortune trying to take me down. Anyway, one of the things I know she did in my house is when I came home one night, the house was covered in smoke and I couldn't stop coughing. And she was telling me she was smoking out whatever was in the house. Now, this is a Black woman. And one morning we were having breakfast and I looked outside my house and there was a black squirrel strategically sitting facing my house. It's almost like it was looking in the house for someone. And I said to her, I've been living in this house for how many years now? And I've never seen a black squirrel. I didn't know there were black squirrels. And she said to me, that is my squirrel. That squirrel is here for me. I almost fell off of my chair. At this point, I started to realize that I was in a horror movie and I could not undo it because, in trying to help myself, I was weaving a thicker web of darkness around myself. So after that, I continued to pray for the 14 days to be up so I could get her to go back to New York. And she kept telling me she loved San Francisco and was going to move there to live. And based on what she was saying, it sounded like she thought she'd be living with me. Anyway, before she left, she gave me something to drink. She gave me baths with different things she prepared. I wasn't home. I didn't see what she prepared. I completely trusted her. And the reason, you may be looking at me and thinking I'm stupid, but in the same situation, you may have done the same because she and I studied the Bible every day, 3 times a day before she arrived in San Francisco. And what I'm trying to share with you here, not everyone carrying a Bible is a Christian. She also told me the Bible is not real. It has been tampered with. Many books have been removed from it. And get this, the same Bible that people use for good can be used for evil. And little ding dong here didn't get it because I thought he was dealing with a good person. She and I did Bible study for 3 months, 3 times a day. She lived in New York. I used to have to wake up at 5 so that I was ready when she was. You may be getting the picture now, why I say I'm indestructible. I was in the lion's den with all of the lions. And now I look back and wonder, how in the world did I escape? I get very emotional because there's so much I can't tell you here. But if you want to know, you're going to have to read the book. But after she went back to New York, one day she looked at me and she told me, this Chinese woman is going to kill you. And to prevent her from killing you and to save your life, I need you to give me $18,000 to kill her. Yes, she said that to me. I was flabbergasted. And I could tell from her face, she could tell. It's like she bludgeoned me on the head with a piece of wood. And I looked at her and I go, that is crazy talk. I would never have anybody's blood on my hands. I'm sorry, I don't kill people. People who are doing evil to me, God will deal with them. And then I knew I wanted her out of my house. There's so much more because we're talking 14 days, but I don't want to make this segment about that. If you want to know the details, like I said, and continue to say, when the book is published, those details will be in the book. At this point, I started to feel fear, and I don't feel fear. And then one day I went out, and one of my friends looked at me, and she goes, Jenny, what is going on with you? You don't look good. And I said, well, I'm up all night praying with this lady. We're trying to get rid of the things that have been done to my home and me? And she said, well, I think you're praying with the wrong person because I'm getting a feeling that you need to get that person out of your house really fast. Now, the same woman was trying to make me come to New York, and she told me I had to get a white dress and all white clothes to go to some ceremony. But at this point, my angels and guides and friends had told me there's no way I was going. Thank you, God, for my friends. And you know who you are, who've held my hand through this time. Tasha, Olivia, Norma, Jerry, all of my close friends who've held my hands through this time and were seeing for me when I couldn't see, when I was being blinded. Now, here's one other thing I want to share before I change the story to the next incident that I want to share with you. The night before she left for New York, I dreamt, and like I've told you in previous videos, God gives me messages in my dreams. I dreamt I came home from work. The house I came to is not the house I live in, but I knew it was my home. There was a fireplace. And as I opened the front door, this huge white dog, it almost looked like a horse, like a baby, a colt, if that's still baby horse. But it was pure white. And as I opened the door, it got up and it walked over to me like it just wanted to reassure me that everything would be okay. And it also wanted to make sure I was okay. And shortly after I got into the house, I got a phone call that summons me to the house next door. And when I got there, it was an older plantation style building that had a long walkway upstairs. It was a 2-story building. And it looked like a lot of geriatric people were staying there. It was like a home for older people, but it was dark in there and very gloomy. And I remember feeling, oh, I don't want to be here because everyone looked like they were suffering. Everyone looked like they were in misery. They were all leaned over, bent over in wheelchairs or chairs, and they were covered up so I could hardly see them. And when I looked upstairs, I saw CasSandra walking across the hallway, and she didn't want me to see it was her. And I remember as I looked at her, my first impulse was to go upstairs and give her a hug. And then I woke up. I told this to her worker who was in my house the next morning. And I remember she looked stunned when I told her, or she hesitated, like she was taking in what I related to her. And she said, I guess you're going to be okay. She didn't say you will. She says, I guess you are going to be okay. These dreams have left indelible marks on my brain, and oftentimes Spirit and my guides, my angels, will remind me of it. And do you know when they remind me of it? The times when I'm feeling like I can't do this anymore. Every time when I want to give up, these dreams and experiences are brought back to my attention to remind me that I was always shown the big white dog, which I later equated to the Holy Spirit and God, who were always protecting me with guides, angels, and my entire sovereign light family that have helped me to evolve from that place to where I am now. Now, you may hear me say things like my sovereign light family and my angels and my guides, and it may not resonate with you. Well, prior to my experience and my knowledge, they didn't resonate either. I have to tell you, as I am telling you the stories, I'm just reflecting on that time of my life and how painful it was because it was so lonely, so lonely. Everything I am sharing with you happened. And in my desperation to get help to stop it, I kept going down more and more rabbit holes. And this is why in my first segment, I said, be careful because when you are down and out, the dark has pathways laid with more darkness to sabotage and take you down. Because what I've come to understand, just like we know God is one big unit of light and love, the dark is the same. And just like angels and guides help us when we are fighting the dark is all one. So they all play in the same game. And apparently, if your name is targeted to be taken down, they all come together in the dark world, which I don't understand the workings of and don't want to know. But somehow they all sort of want a piece of the pie as you are going down. I wish that what I was sharing was more edifying, but hopefully this is enlightening in terms of if anything like this is happening to you or anyone you know, it will help you to identify what it is and to make sure when you find help, the help is credible. So one of the things that I had to do, and I want to make sure I'm following the black squirrel. That black squirrel, everyone who visited my home in San Francisco got to see the squirrel in action. It wasn't always a squirrel. I came to learn that people who are in this world that are practicing dark magic on different people, they can embody animals. And in my case, it was actually birds and squirrels. But everywhere I went, a squirrel would follow me. And I've had friends visit me in California. We've gone walking and they've seen it. It was obvious. It would follow me while I walked, and when I got close up to it, it would turn its head and cock the eye and look at me like that. And I later found out CasSandra is actually now demonic because of all of interactions with the demonic world. And I think some of those times she was actually following me. Now, I'm not always sure why she was following me. Maybe it was to scare me. I don't know. There's so much that has happened that maybe later on, as I tell these stories, you might be able to connect the dots as to why these squirrels followed me. But I want to share something funny with you before I round up today's segment. One of the people helping me made me. Oh, I want to backtrack really quickly. Something I think it's critical that I mention that I forgot to mention when I was speaking about the woman from New York. She made me take her to a store because she needed candles. And I took her, I'm like, oh, I know where even the grocery store has candles. And she told me, oh, no, no, no. It's a special candle store. I think she told me it was called Santa Maria or something like that. And I Googled it and I found one in San Jose, California. And so I drove her there. And as I walked into the store, I felt like I was going to throw up. When I looked on the shelves, I saw candles of brides, I saw candles of grooms, I saw, sorry people, but this is true, penises, I saw women's vaginas. I mean, I couldn't believe what I saw in the store that were candles. And I remember looking at her and going, why do they need candles like that? And look, God has tasked me with telling you the truth. So I'm putting it out there. For the details, read the book. She told me I can make any man impotent, or anybody can make any man impotent, and I can separate any two people. And I'm not going to say how she told me that they can do this, because I don't want anybody watching this and thinking they can go and do it. That's not what this is all about. God wants me to share what He allowed to happen in my life to enlighten you in case you're having issues like I did, not to give you ideas. So I'm going to leave it there. But I can tell you this. I was not in that shop 5 minutes, and I walked outside on the side of the street and I threw up. I couldn't stop throwing up. And I told her I did not ever want to go back in a store like that. Don't ever take me. She bought a lot of stuff, which she claimed she was using to clear my stuff, which later I think she used to hurt. Everything she did while she was at my house was to hurt me because CasSandra hired her. Okay, now for a lighter note. One of the people who I went to get help made me buy 4 aerosol cans of things that I had to spray on my body at night and in the morning that were supposed to shy away or get rid of these entities. And I can't remember the names of them. One was like go away evil, one was get away Satan. It was things that were supposed to make the dark go away. But she told me I had to use it 14 days straight. I could not interrupt using it. And I had to use it at night. I had to use it in the morning. I had to spray it on myself. 2 days after I started this doctor in China, he is one of the top plastic surgeons in China, invited me to China, all expenses paid, to go to his hospital and do some television shows on his new cutting-edge procedure, fat grafting, where they were taking the fat out of people's bodies, and instead of using artificial fillers, they were centrifuging the people's fat and putting it back in their faces to give them a more youthful appearance. And I'm thinking, how am I going to carry these 4 large containers to China? Well, I took less of my necessities and I made sure I had those 4 cans, those aerosol cans with me. I made it all the way to China with it. I was met at the VIP in China, so I think that's how I got through customs with it. I got it. I went to my hotel. Every morning I sprayed with them. Every evening I sprayed with them. Then the doctor wanted me to have the experience of being on the bullet train in China. So I was on my way to the bullet train with my luggage, but you have to clear customs for this train like you clear customs in the US to get on an airplane. And it's just like being on an airplane, except you're on this train that goes like a bullet. I was very excited for the opportunity to be on this train. But when I got to their customs, they confiscated the cans. And I kept saying, no, you can't take them. They don't have anything bad in them. I need them. And they can't speak English. I can't speak Chinese. And they were trying to ask me what was in it. And so because I couldn't tell them what it was, and it looked suspicious to them, they confiscated it. Needless to say, I was heartbroken on this train because I know that I had gone 8 days and now it's gone. And so all my hard work and my determination to clear these pokings and things that were happening in my bed at night were now going to really run rampant because I'm in China and I don't have any of my prayers or stuff that I use at home to help me. And so I thought I would share that with you, because if you were there to see me trying to hold on to these 4 cans for dear life, you really would have thought I've lost my marbles. And many times I felt like I have. I remember one night sitting in the middle of my bedroom floor and just losing it and just crying incessantly because I could not understand what was happening to my life. I couldn't. But my neighbors and my friends will tell you I'm a hell of a fighter because by the time I woke up in the morning, I was reinvigorated and ready for what was waiting for me that day. And this is the last thing I want to say before I wrap up today. Your pictures. CasSandra has scrubbed the internet clean of her pictures. And she works for companies doing scientific research. There's a lot of papers that she publishes. I've been wondering about some of her scientific projects. But anyway, you cannot find a picture of her anywhere. Get this. One night, I was in my bed. My angels told me to wake up and told me to go to a certain place. I was almost asleep when I was woken up and told this. And I went, and that is how I found the two pictures I have of her. I downloaded them. And get this. I swear to you on my life. When I woke up in the morning, thank God I downloaded them. But when I woke up in the morning and I went back to the site, it was shut down. It was made private. You get what I'm saying now when I tell you that she watches everything I do? I've been told she has me mirrored. Don't ask me how you do that. And so several times when I was out with a person that sort of brought her into my life, she would call or show up. Read the book for the details. So what I'm telling you all is people can go to the internet, to Facebook. I know a lot of people post pictures of themselves everywhere. What I have learned, I'm sharing with you, is people can take your pictures and hurt you. And it's because CasSandra knows what she has done with my pictures, that she has scrubbed the internet clean of hers. But she's not smarter than God, because CasSandra, I have pictures of you. And this is how people were able to ID you. So you've scrubbed the internet, but I still have your pictures. I was told she sent my picture to someone in China to do whatever to me. And I was told that the man looked at my picture and said, this is a good person who does not help people. And he took my picture and destroyed it, but he took her money. I don't know if any of this is true, but I do know she's used my pictures for many different things. This, I'm not even sure if I should say here. As a matter of fact, I won't read this one in the book, but I will put in the book what she was seen using one of my pictures doing. I was also told that she's tried to disfigure my face and to make me look ugly, is what I was told. Well, CasSandra, black magic will never change my looks. It may have hurt my life while I was asleep, but I stand in my power, and you will never, ever be able to do that which you had hoped you would. And so I feel like this is enough for today. So I'm going to wrap this show up by saying thank you for watching me. Please remember the difference between a skeptic and a believer is the experience. But if you are having trouble believing what I'm telling you, I don't blame you. I would not believe this if I were listening to someone else telling it. But I would like to tell you one last thing. I have many other things to do with my time. I would not waste my time sitting here sharing this if I were not instructed clearly to tell you. For weeks, my angels and my guides kept telling me it's time. And so I believe that because I am a pure, innocent person, and when I say this, I'm not saying I haven't done things that are wrong. Yes, I have. I've hurt people, I've broken hearts, I have betrayed people. I've been human, but I've never done anything like this. And God knows that always, when I've hurt people or whatever, it was not a deliberate attempt to hurt them. In my judgment, I thought I was doing the right thing, and sometimes it turned out that it wasn't. But I've never set out deliberately to hurt anyone. And so before I go, I thank you for following this story, and I'm asking you to watch it with an open mind. There's so much going on in our world that you don't know. There's so much I know that the majority of you don't know. I'm not saying I'm smarter than you. I'm just saying this experience has catapulted me into places where I didn't want to be, but God wanted me to go because I'm divinely protected and nothing will ever happen to me. In my worst, they've scratched my body just last week since I started doing the show. I woke up to scratches on my back. It was burning me. I couldn't figure out why it was burning. I looked in the mirror and I had 4 scratches on a part of my body that I can't reach. And I live alone. And it happened while I was asleep. They also bite my body, but that's about it. They can't do anything else to me. They've caused a lot of catastrophes, but none of that will ever happen again. Everything they're doing to me now, they better set their dining table because it's time for them to eat. See, we have to reap what we sow, people. On this note, I thank you so much for watching these segments. And if you know anybody that anything I've shared here resembles something that is happening to them, please feel free to have them reach out to me. I have credible resources because someone is helping me now. And that's why I'm at the end of this. I love you all. Thank you and God bless. See you soon with the next segment.
From the shadows, she appears. Jennylyn Show.